I know, I've heard the complaints, but I've done some thinking, and I think we should give the sleeveless hoodie outfit a little more time to win us all over.
So I thought Bastion was alright. Made a whole video about it, feel free to take a gander, but the takeaway from that is the gameplay aspects of Bastion left me wanting. Supergiant Games made a second game called Transistor, which is, surprise surprise, an isometric action game with reactive storytelling. Breaking new ground there, guys. But this time, instead of being underwhelmed by a mundane combat system, an ending that I feel suffered from adhering to contemporary tropes, and a narrator that eventually got on my nerves, I was satisfied by gameplay that informed the setting, a bittersweet love story disguised as a hero's quest to save the world, and a narrator that eventually got on my nerves faster than the last one did. But hey, 2 out of 3 still ain't bad. Chalk up Transistor as having one of the strongest openings in a video game that I've ever seen. It starts with this beautiful painting of a dead guy. Then you pull the sword out of him and...
What a night. You're still in one piece. That's all that matters.
Oh good. For a second there I thought I'd get the chance to soak in the city of Cloudbank's majestic skyline. This, we're to assume, is the voice of the man you pull the transistor out of, and since man inside the transistor is a mouthful, we're going to rename him as Transistor Man!
It's not that I don't like the reactive storytelling, it's just that it's not used intelligently in Transistor.
The story is less about the chaos that is occurring in the world and more about our protagonist Red and her relationship with Transistor Man! Naturally, you would think that our narrator would then focus on informing us of that relationship while everything else filled out the backdrop our love story was taking place in. The actual story beats do this fantastically, with monologues made by key characters at certain points to explain the events that led up to the beginning of the game. The visuals do this by establishing matching colors for the villains and the enemies we fight, by giving us these wonderful pieces that tell us things about Red without using words. And it sounds like our narrator is doing his part of the job, but most of what he says doesn't contribute to either world building or the relationship.
I'll miss this place.
What does this inform us of? Why is it even here? There's a ton of these vague pieces of dialogue that don't do anything to flesh out any part of the narrative other than, yes, you've been here before. It's made worse when at certain points in the game, we get these huge exposition dumps that could have been dispersed into the reactive dialogue.
When everything changes, nothing changes. That's the Camerata's creed.
Oh, okay, yeah, that makes sense.
Everything we did, everything we're doing, is for Cloudbank.
Wait, there's more? You have more?
The process, those things, they don't answer to us anymore.
Gee, you know when this would have been great? Back there, by those piers that I can use to look out into nothing because the view distance is too short? Do you remember that? That would have been a good time to tell me some of this stuff? How about you, USB 3.0? You got anything useful to say?
I do not.
Great, thanks, you're terrific.
I'm emphasizing it because this is a feature that's advertised and it's sort of pointless. I knew more about this couple from one silent cutscene and Red's clothing than I did from the culmination of all this person's dialogue. It's nice to have a character that will make a remark about something we see in game, but we don't need one to fill in every second of silence. That's my problem with reactive storytelling. It keeps other elements of the game from speaking for themselves.
They got that loudmouth.
Come on, dude, I haven't even segued into that part of the episode yet. Transistor is an action game where you can map one of many skills to each of the face buttons and then use them in combat. But if that was it, we wouldn't be having this conversation right now. Hitting the right trigger in the middle of a fight will activate the Transistor's planning mode. In planning mode, time stops and Red can plan out a combat string that will be then automatically executed by hitting the right trigger again. Any movement you make and any skill you use takes up an amount of space on the planning bar, and you can combo skills into each other for extra damage. It even tells you how much damage you're going to deal to each enemy before you execute, but I wouldn't put all my trust into those estimations if I were you. Planning mode doesn't take into account any displacement enemies might suffer from being hit by your attacks or being stuck inside an environmental obstacle, for example. The skills you don't use in the active slots can be used as passive upgrades to your current loadout, or as passive abilities that give Red different advantages like more planning time or a faster dodge. Being able to change this loadout at any save point, which are abundant, gives you every opportunity to change things around, and you're going to want to do that at almost every save point because, and this is where Transistor transcends Bastion as a vessel for storytelling, the skills you use also provide you with character biographies that not only tell you the life story of an important person in Cloudbank, but will tell you more if you use these skills as different parts of your configurations. So now that you're unlocking pieces of lore through using these skills differently, you're also learning how your available options work in relation to how they're being used and what other skills they're being used with. Whether you want to learn about the world you're playing in or want to try out every single possible combination of skills, the other becomes the incentive for you to do so. Your reward for winning battles is knowledge. Knowledge of the things around you, of the setting you've been placed in, of your tools and how to use them. But the one thing Transistor forgets to do is reward you with knowledge of who you're playing as. I did it for Bastion, so I'll do it for this game. If you want to avoid spoilers, click here, blah, blah, blah.
Do you notice anything odd about the world building in this game?
It's vague, it's ambiguous, nothing's really set in stone. Much like the city of Cloudbank, which is constantly changing because it houses a society whose wishes are instantly fulfilled by a majority vote. The weather, the installation of a new bridge, the color of the sky, all of it changes on a whim, except the people. In this way, Transistor tells us that people are more important than our material surroundings. Because the city is being sterilized and wiped clean, we instead learn what we can of the people fighting to survive, of the people that didn't, of the people that are facing the inevitable. And all of them care not for the destruction of their home, but for the people they've lost. Even the villains, even the people that caused all of this to happen feel remorse and regret for the damage they've done to the people around them. This is why our final boss is not a man who's conniving or evil or thirsty for power. He's a recluse, a loner, a man that is so detached that he isn't fazed by the fact that even if he brings the world back to the way it was, no one will be there to share it with him. He is the antithesis of the person Transistor wants us to be. Yet ironically, the two characters we should care about the most are the ones we know the least about. Which is why in the end, when Red kills herself with the Transistor so that her consciousness is transferred into it to be trapped with her beloved, I was like, what the fuck? And I don't think it's because it's a bad ending to this kind of story. I think it's because the games had us looking the wrong way this whole time. It takes you a second to put the pieces together, to realize that Red wasn't trying to bring the world back. She was trying to bring him back. And when she finds out she can't, she does the only thing that will let them be together again. It comes as much of a surprise to us as it does to Transistor Man! But we're not playing as Transistor Man! We're playing as Red. We should be thinking the same things that she is. The one thing that should be clear as day, reunite with the man we love no matter what, is the most obscured. Transistor's greatest failure is that it fails to put us in the shoes of our character. It fails to provide us with the perspective we need for an ending of that nature to give us closure.
But that's just an ending. It's just a piece of what Transistor is.
And even though it grates on me, the reactive storytelling is also just a piece.
You know, I've never once seen the Visitors Bureau open.
It's just, I don't... Moving on. If you ask me if I liked Transistor, I'd say
fuck yeah!
The gameplay is innovative, the world building I loved from Bastion is improved, the themes are still well presented even if the narrative struggles to do it across the board. Transistor is without a doubt worth the 6 hours it takes to play through all of it. Just turn subtitles on and mute the voice audio. Fantastic.
If Bastion didn't sell it hard enough for you, Transistor will. Until next time, my name's GC. Remember that you are amazing, and keep on playing positive.
Hey, thanks for watching an episode of GC Positive. For those of you that are new here, hello, my name's GC, and I'm a positive kind of guy. If you'd like to see more of my stuff, you can click on either of the two videos you see right here on the right hand side, or you can go visit my channel where I have everything up there for you to peruse. If you want to support me and the channel as it grows into the unstoppable behemoth that it will one day be, you can subscribe and share these videos around with your friends. Who knows, maybe they'll like it and share it with their friends, and so on and so forth, and soon the whole world will be under my command. And if you follow me on Twitter, you'll get live updates on where I am in making the next episode, my thoughts on video games and other things, and Star Trek and other things, and Star Trek and other things. But as always, remember to stay amazing, and I'll see you all next time. See you later, guys.